Did you know that your brand already has an unfair advantage in the market? One that sets you apart from all of your peers? In this episode of Brand for Good, I'm going to reveal how to unlock it. Your business will never be the same. Let's go. Welcome to Brand for Good, the show for purpose-driven leaders who want to build timeless brands and create sustainable impact. I'm Lorraine Sugart, former PR and marketing executive turned founder of the disruptive agency Prosper for Purpose. I've worked with some of the world's most beloved brands, and I'm here to help you elevate your brand identity, visibility, influence, and impact. Are you ready to brand for good? Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brand for Good, where we explore how businesses can be a force for good and build a solid foundation for success through powerful branding. I'm Lorraine Sugart, and today we're going to discuss a critical component of branding that can give your business a significant edge in the market: your brand value proposition. Now, this is also known as your unique value proposition or your UVP. And you'll also hear it called in some circles your unique selling proposition or your USP. So we're going to dive into what a value proposition is, why it's important, and how to create a compelling one that leverages your unfair advantage. Let's get started. All right, so what exactly is a brand value proposition? Your brand value proposition is a statement that clearly articulates the unique benefits and the value that your brand offers to its customers. It's both the promise to your audience, and we talked about brand promise last week, and the reason why they should choose your brand over competitors. And so the brand value proposition is essentially a concise description of the primary benefit that your brand provides that sets it apart from your competitors. It should communicate what makes your brand unique and why it's the best choice for your ideal clients or customers. So, value propositions and promises and taglines can be kind of mixed up in the public domain and how they're used, and that's okay. My point here is to give you some real world examples and to tell you technically how to think about this so that by the time you are articulating your brand messages, which we're building up to, out in the world, you will understand the underpinnings of each one and how they work together to enhance your brand in the minds of your ideal prospects. Okay, so let's look at just a couple of examples here. So, FedEx, their value proposition that they communicate is that they are the only carrier that delivers overnight. So that's a big value over competitors that typically take a day and a half, 2 days, depending on when you mail it. So how they communicate this is when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. And so what they're emphasizing as their, again, brand differentiators, but their unique value, what makes them different is their reliability when they say when it absolutely, and their speed. So that's one really good example. So Slack, that online community platform for teams and groups, their value proposition is be more productive at work with less effort, highlighting the ease of use and productivity. So if you've ever used Slack, you can set up channels. Like within my marketing agency, there can be channels for each client. Those clients can have access to it. With groups I'm in, We use it to communicate with one another outside of regular meetings or to meet up individually, things like that. And so, in both of these cases, you can see how these brands are different and make a difference in the market. And so, for you, we're going to kind of pull that thread and talk about, first of all, why a brand value proposition is important. And then we'll get on to how to create your own compelling brand value proposition. So, first of all, why is a brand value proposition important at all? Well, it's competition in the market, right? So we have to differentiate ourselves because, and I've talked about this before, but if you don't have a differentiator, your customers oftentimes, not always, and not with high ticket items, but all things being equal, people will compare on price and reviews and other things. But when people are, oh, I need to learn how to do this, or I need this thing, they're going to buy the least expensive one they want because you're not differentiated. What happens is that it's essentially a race to the bottom. You can't increase your prices because you don't have a difference that warrants the increase. So, first of all, a brand value proposition, a UVP, let's just say, clarifies your brand purpose to some extent. So, first of all, your brand value proposition clarifies your brand purpose. So, your brand purpose is your North Star, and a well defined value proposition further clarifies your brand's purpose and the direction you're going. And so, it's another guiding light for all marketing and business decisions. And I keep stressing this, but it's so, so important. These lessons, these teachings about brand that I'm doing this year, this is not just about your marketing. This is about how you run your business so that all wheels are driving in the same direction and can propel your business further faster. So the next thing it does is differentiate your brand, right? This is what I've been talking about. In a crowded marketplace, a strong value proposition will differentiate you from your competitors, allowing you to attract your ideal clients and charge the prices that you should and want to be charging. It makes it clear why your customers should choose your brand over others. Another thing that your brand value proposition does is it drives customer engagement and customer loyalty. So your message will resonate with your target audience. And so they'll be more inclined to engage with you both on social and in leaving reviews and wherever else your brand might be. And then the loyalty factor is really, really important. So, in the cycle of engagement, which is a proprietary process that I developed and use with my Prosper clients, we go through the stages, and loyalty is right before advocacy. So, clients will be loyal. And what that means for you is as you come out with new products or services, they're going to be more likely to return and buy from you again and again. Loyalty then will lead to advocacy. So, advocacy is different than loyalty. And I'll just take a quick detour here to explain that. So, if I'm loyal to your brand, I'll return again when you announce new products or services because I'm inclined to buy from you. But I might not tell other people about you. I'm not thinking about you in that way. It's more of a reactive than a proactive perspective. However, when clients cross that line into from loyalty into advocacy, they want to talk about you. Maybe on their social media, they may talk about you in networking groups that they found a good resource for X, Y, or Z. And that's ultimately where all of us want our clients to land. So, this unique value proposition really drives people towards loyalty. It also increases your conversion rates, which I just talked about. So you're clearly communicating the benefits of your product or service so people can quickly understand why your brand is the best choice for them. And then again, your conversion rates will continue to increase as people return for enhanced or new offerings. And so, just to go back to the title of this episode, your value proposition is where you leverage your unfair advantage. And those are the unique strengths and capabilities that only your brand possesses. So I've heard another copywriter, Ashlyn Carter, talk about your onlyness factor. It's that. It's your unique factor. It's your unfair advantage. There's so many terms for this, but it's those strengths that only your brand possesses. It could be anything from an exclusive process, technology that you developed, a unique expertise or an unusual expertise that you mix with your main line. So in marketing, we're hearing more and more from marketers who are going back to study psychology. I studied psychology while I was studying marketing, and I continue to study psychology because it's so helpful to understand the minds of your consumers. Like, what is propelling people to purchase in this day and age? Well, it's based in psychology. It's based on what's going on in the world and how we react to that, but also the values that we're raised with and how we experience the world. And so, understanding this and leveraging what you bring to the table outside your core area is also important. Part of your unique advantage could be that you treat your customers in such a way that they stay with you for years and years. Or it could be a distinct brand story about how you got started. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they start their business, they start with their story. And some of them are really just surprising and engaging. And you look at the entrepreneur and you think to yourself, I just can't believe that. It's so interesting. So, highlighting your unfair advantage can make your value proposition even more compelling. So, how do you do that? How do you create a compelling brand value proposition? Okay, so now that we understand what the value proposition is and why it's important, let's dive into how to create a great UVP that leverages your unfair advantage. So you start by understanding your audience. Who do you want to serve? Understand what they value and what they're looking for. How do you do this? You conduct market research to gather insights into what they need, their preferences, what their urgent pain point or need is right now. The more you know about your audience, the better you can tailor your value proposition to meet their current needs and expectations. You can do this so many ways. You can put in a call for people that would be willing to take a survey that you know are your ideal prospects. You can reach out to former clients or current clients and ask them if they would talk to you for 5 minutes about where they are in their business and what they might need and how you can better serve them. Once you get that data, you want to identify your unique benefits. So now that you know what your customers are looking for, you look at, and you probably have a bunch of them. I say often that when you bring yourself to market, and by yourself, I mean your business, but sometimes you are your business. You are not one ingredient. You are the whole recipe, but you can't always bring forth the whole recipe. So you've got to decide which ingredients do I need to talk about at this point in time for this customer group. So, what are the unique benefits and value that you offer? What problems do you solve? What specific advantages do you have to provide? Focusing on the benefits that your prospects are looking for and connect them to those unique points of differentiation that you have. Next, you want to analyze your competitors. So I don't encourage that you're always watching your competitors, but a couple times a year, maybe 2 to 4 times a year, it makes sense because your competitors also change, right? And so there are so many trends in the market that one person does really effectively, and then everybody jumps on board. And so you want to continue to figure out who your competitors, I call them peers. I feel like there's enough work for everyone, but you want to figure out what their unique values are, find the gap. What is it that no one brings that you bring? And that is typically your unfair advantage. And again, it could be more than one. It's typically, I do a whole workshop on it where I break it down. It could be that you grew up living abroad and you lived in a lot of different places. And so you have a cultural understanding that you bring to your business. And you can help your clients that are competing or starting businesses in other countries understand the cultures there. That's just a random off the top of my head idea that you can use as an example. Other people, their unfair advantage is that maybe they speak and write in multiple languages. So look for things in yourself that maybe you don't even think of as an advantage. They're just things that make you unique. Write them all down and then look at your peers, your competitors, and see what you have that they don't. And then ask yourself, does this help me better serve my clients based on what they need right now? And if the answer is yes, you win the game. Step 4 is to craft your value proposition statement. So now that you have understood your audience, you've done that research, you've identified your unique benefits, you've looked at your competitors, and you've found out what you have that they lack. Now you're going to put it into writing. So your value proposition statement, obviously, here I go again with the 3 C's: clear, concise, and compelling. It typically, but not always, includes the following components. So some kind of headline or a clear statement that communicates the primary benefit, then a brief explanation of what you offer, who it's for, and why it's valuable, key benefits, a list of the main benefits or features, and then oftentimes a visual element, an image or even a graphic that reinforces your message, if applicable. But we know that when you have a visual and strong copy, it's, I want to say, a 1-2 punch. I hate to use fighting analogy, but there it is. So here's a template that you can use. And if you're driving in your car, you can come back and this will be in the show notes for you. So here's a template. At brand, we provide, and that's your audience, with your unique benefit by, and that's how you provide it. And then unlike, and you can either, you want to say your competitor, but not your competitor's name. So like others in your market, like, okay, let's go back to FedEx for a second. So at FedEx, we provide customers with reliable service by delivering overnight. And so, unlike other delivery services, we guarantee overnight delivery. So, that's an example of how this template can work for you. And you want to play with it. You don't want it to be an awkward statement. And this is just a good starting point. You get those things in there and then you play with how you can communicate this. And so you might say your company is, FedEx is the only company that guarantees overnight delivery. And then they go into the when you need it most. So here's one other example. I have house cleaners, a lot of us do, come in every couple of weeks. And one of the things that's really important to me is that they don't use toxic materials. So I have horrific allergies, but I don't like toxic chemicals. Who does want toxic chemicals in their home? But we also have 2 cats and 2 dogs. And so I look for cleaners, and here's an example of one who says that they provide environmentally safe products to environmentally conscious consumers with the safest and most effective cleaning products available using natural ingredients. And so then they compare themselves to others and say, unlike other house cleaners, we ensure and promise a toxin-free home environment. So that's another example. So how you're different in your market. Okay. The last step is to test this out in the world and then refine it. Remember, another common phrase I use, done is better than perfect. So once you have your statement, test it with your target audience, gather feedback, make adjustments to ensure that it is resonating and communicating clearly your brand's unique value. Okay. That's pretty much a wrap on today's episode. But before you go, I want you to remember your brand value proposition is a powerful tool that can set you apart from your competition and help drive not just your marketing success, but your business success. It clarifies your brand purpose, differentiates you in the market, and resonates with your target audience. So take time to go through these steps of research, writing, analysis, peer review, and craft a compelling value proposition that leverages your unfair advantage. Now, before we go, it's important to note that while your brand value proposition and your brand positioning statement are closely related, they are not the same. Your value proposition focuses on the unique benefits you offer and why customers should choose you. In contrast, your brand positioning statement defines the specific space you occupy in the market relative to your competition. It's about where you want to be in the minds of your customers. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where I'll be talking about brand positioning and diving into that so that you can strategically position your brand for maximum impact. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review, share your thoughts and experience with your brand value propositions in the comments, and join us next time as we continue to explore the power of branding for good. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Brand for Good show. If you like what you heard, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and leave a review so other purpose-driven leaders can find this valuable content. To learn more about building a brand for good, please visit prosperforpurpose.com for more resources and information on all the ways you can work with us.